Hello everybody and welcome back to a different type of video that I'm going to be doing today. So in this video I will be ranking my top 10 favorite Minecraft updates in Minecraft history throughout the years. And yes, so thought this would be a good idea to create this video considering that the Minecraft 1.19 Wild update was just released, and I thought, why not rank my favorite updates? So before we get into the video, I will ask everybody, if they haven't already, to hit the like button, and if they are new, consider subscribing so they don't miss out on any future episodes. And let's get into the video. So first, I would like to start off with some honorable mentions. So one honorable mention I have is the 1.5 Redstone update. I know for some of you Redstone fans out there, this update would be in your top 10. Now, the Redstone update added new blocks such as the redstone block, the dropper, the hopper comparator, also added quartz, also added things like hopper minecarts, which are very useful in TNT minecarts, but I just felt like the update lacked a lot of content, and I feel like the update could have brought some more. But yeah, honorable mentions: the redstone update, the 1.15 Buzzy Bees update, which added obviously bees, beehive, bee nest, honey block, honeycomb. Again, not much in the update, which is why it's an honorable mention. The 1.6 horse update. Now this added horses into the games, and also donkeys and mules. Also added blocks like hardened clay and all the different colors of hardened clay, and also the hay bale and carpets. And my last honorable mention is the 1.4 Pretty Scary update, a very early update in Minecraft's history, but I thought it would be a good place to put it in my honorable mentions. This update added the Wither Boss, also the Wither Skeletons, Zombie Villager, Baby Zombies, Witch, Bat, blocks such as the Command Block, Beacons, Anvil. So it was a game-changing update, but not... I don't think it tops the list of updates that I have. Okay, so for number 10 on my list, I have the 1.12 World of Color update. This is number 10 on my list, mainly because it didn't add much. The only thing it really added was colored concrete, which is big for a builder's aspect, but it didn't offer much, I feel. And I'm comparing it into the later updates that we have now. I feel like Mojang could have done more, but also the mobs, not much. I mean, the parrot was big, but the parrot doesn't do much. It's almost like the bat, but the parrot, you know, dances and all that. And the illusioner, which you really don't interact with in survival Minecraft, but it did come out with colored concrete, also glazed terracotta and colored beds, but the lack of content, which is why I put this at number 10. Number 9, the 1.8 Bountiful update. Now, I remember this update. This was a very exciting update back in the day, but looking at it now, I mean, now it added a lot of blocks. It added blocks such like diorite, andesite, granite. It also added prismarine blocks and sea lanterns, and the introduction of slime blocks, which is huge in the redstone community. Mobs included the endermite guardian, elder guardian, which came with the new structure of the guardian temple, and the rabbit. But I felt like compared to the other updates on my list, number 9 was a pretty good spot for this. Number 8 on my list, which kind of has mixed feelings around the Minecraft community ever since its release date, and it has in some way changed the landscape of PvP, is the 1.9 combat update. Now this is kind of an underrated update in my opinion, because a lot of content came out in this update. The mob that came out in this update, the main one was the shulker, which becomes valuable, the blocks, the chorus flower and plant, the end rod, which is very useful, endstone bricks, purpur, which is kind of controversy, the grass path, which is a very good block, and for map makers and creators out there, structure blocks. Items, the elytra, game-changing item, the end crystal, the dragon's breath. This update basically changed the way PvP works. You know, which is kind of controversy because they took away the spam, clicking with when you're trying to attack with a sword, all the stats with different weapons and armor and all that. So PvP had a big overhaul, but there was also features like dual wielding, which is very useful for builders, and a new enchantment called Mending, which is basically everyone's favorite enchantment, and a end dimension that was redone with one biome. I feel like the end could use another update, but that's for a future topic. But yeah, they redid the end, and kind of an underrated update in my opinion. So yeah, number 8 on my list is the 1.9 combat update. Number 7 on my list is actually, believe it or not, a big update that I think it's a forgotten update in my opinion. It is the update. Now it's titled The Update That Changed the World. It literally did change the world of Minecraft, where they added so many biomes. For example, the Mesa, which is now called the Badlands, the Savanna biome, the Flower Forest, the Roofed Forest, which is called the Dark Forest, Birch Forest, Mega Taiga, Ice Spikes. They changed fishing completely. This is when AFK fish farms were created. The blocks, stained glass, packed ice, very useful. Red sand, podzol, acacia, and all the different acacia wood variants, dark oak wood, and bunch of new flowers. This was a very big update content-wise, and I think it deserves a good number 7 spot on my list. They also added the chicken jockey, which was kind of only the main mob that was added. The chicken jockey. So yeah, number 7 on my list, the update that changed the world. So number 6 on my list, kind of a recent update, and this update is the 1.18 Caves and Cliffs Part 2 update. As you all know, the Caves and Cliffs update was split into 2 parts, Part 1 and Part 2. And Part 2 made it 6th on my list, mainly because, I mean, it didn't bring a lot of content, but it brought enough content that kind of changed the way we view and play Minecraft with the new biomes. And first of all, the new Y level, which is very important. They expanded the Y level above and below 0, which is very huge for building, and added new caves below, which is different from recent updates. Also new biomes like the meadow, the grove, and the mountains, completely changing the landscape of Minecraft. Now that was mainly it for that update. It was just kind of like a spillover from 1.17, but I think the Caves and Cliffs Part 2 update 1.18 deserves a number 6 spot on my top 10. Number 5 was an update that happened a couple years ago, and this was really when Mojang really started to update a lot frequently. Updates were coming out, bigger and more frequent. So number 5 is the 1.13 update Aquatic. Now this update changed the oceans as we know them forever, brought a lot of content out, a bunch of new mobs, including the dolphin, turtle, new fish like the salmon, cod, tropical fish, the pufferfish, a drowned, and everyone's favorite nighttime mob, the unfortunate mob that was voted in, the Phantom. Now, I personally don't mind the Phantom. I just feel like it could be used differently, but that's a topic for another day. Blocks that were added, blue ice, which is a step up from packed ice, a bunch of coral, kelp blocks, stripped wood for every different type, and full wood for every different type of wood. New game mechanics like bubble columns, which is very useful for different redstone builds and like other transportation builds. They added exploration into the game with treasure and structures like shipwrecks and coral reefs. They added the Trident, which is really cool, and its own enchantments, and the new biomes such as the Cold Ocean, Frozen Ocean, and Lukewarm Ocean. All of that, I think, deserves a number 5 spot on my top 10. Number 4, which was one of my favorite updates when it came out at the time, completely overhauled and changed the way these mobs work, which are very annoying. and still can be annoying, but it is the 1.14 Village and Pillage update, makes the number 4 spot on my list. This was another big, very big update. Just like 1.13, this changed villages and villagers and added, I would say, enemies like to villages and all that. I think it was really well done and really well developed. New mobs included, for whatever reason, the brown mushroom, which is just basically a brown cow. Now, everyone's favorite animal in the taiga, the fox, which was voted in by the community, and the panda, also added in the pillager, ravager, the annoying mob, the trader llama, and the wandering trader. I don't know why they were added. Items such as the bamboo, which is very useful, wither roses, and the berry bush, which is good for decoration and blocks. Bunch of new workstations for villagers. Changed the way villager AI works as we know it. They all have different workstations and jobs, and overhauled the trading system. The one thing that I wish Mojang added, and it's not in the game yet, the ability to leash villagers. If we could just lead villagers with a leash instead of using minecarts, this would be so much better. But the way they are now is fine. They also added bells, campfires, lanterns, scaffolding, which can be made from bamboo, and different slab stairs and walls for all the different types of stone variant blocks and all that. Very useful building blocks. Also added the crossbow and another structure, the pillage outposts, and a new game mechanic. It's not really a game mechanic, it's just a new experience into the game, which is raids that basically raid nearby villages if you get bad omen. I think it's a really cool concept that Mojang added into this update. Complete game-changing update. Which is why, all that being said, is number 4 on my list. Number 3 on my list is an update that just came out. Now, there are a lot of ups, and I believe there's more ups than downs in this update. I do understand that there's been a lot of downs in this update, but I won't get into all that. But number 3 on my list is the 1.19 Wild update. Personally, this is one of my favorite updates. Now, I kind of feel like I say that every update when a new one comes out, but this one added a lot. And one of my favorite mobs in Minecraft, and the scariest mobs, the warden mob. Very well done by Mojang. They also added the frog, tadpole, and a very creative and unique mob, the allay, which I think has a lot of potential in Minecraft. Also added new building blocks such as skulk, different frog lights, a new wood, mangrove wood. They also added a new brick type. They added mud bricks and mud. Oh, I think that has a lot of potential in building. Also, for the redstone community, the skulk sensor, one really cool and unique redstone mechanic that can be used in different contraptions. This update has a lot of potential. They also added goat horns, which I don't know how I feel about yet. They also added structures like the ancient city, basically like a stronghold or a nether fortress in the nether, or a bastion. Ancient city, very cool. And new biomes like the deep dark and the mangrove swamp. A lot of good content, and I think more good came out of this update than disappointment, if I could put it that way. I understand that the inventory management wasn't really addressed in this update. You know, they kind of threw in the idea of bundles, but then they took them away. I mean, that's a little bit of a disappointment, and like the birch forests and fireflies, but I wouldn't worry about that. There is still a lot to look forward to in the future. So I think there's a lot of good that came out of this update than disappointment, but this is one of my favorite updates that Mojang has ever came out with. The 1.19 Wild update, which is a number 3 on my list. Number 2, which is another recent update. I think one of the biggest updates that came out content-wise. I think the update was really well thought out, but it is the 1.16 Nether update. This was a really good update. Now, the Nether, up until this point, has been a very bland and boring dimension with only one biome and a couple mobs, nothing really to do besides explore it and look for, you know, the fortress and all that. So the mobs that came out, the Hoglin, the Piglin, the Zoglin, the Piglin Brute, which resides in Bastions, a new structure that was also added, and the Strider, which I think is a really cool mob. They renamed Pigmen into Zombie Pigmen. Lots of changes in the mob area. Blocks, Netherite, very valuable and rare block to get. Ancient Debris, which you can smelt into Netherite. The Lodestone, which is very useful. Basalt, Blackstone, both good building blocks. Gilded Blackstone, chiseled version of Nether bricks now. There's now Quartz bricks. Warped Wart Block, Crimson Wood, and Warped Wood, Crying Obsidian, the Respawn Anchor, which I think is very useful, Soul Soil, Soul Lantern, Chains, which is very good building-wise. I love using chains. And for the redstone community, another one, the Target Block. New biomes? 4 new biomes have been added. Now there's 5 total. There's current Nether Wastes. Now, the new biomes include the Soul Sand Valley, the Warped Forest, the Crimson Forest, which is not my favorite, and the Basalt Deltas, and new structures, Ruin Portals, and Bastions, which I talked about earlier. The Piglin Brute resides in them, and Bastions have a lot of loot to come by. A lot of good stuff came out of this update, and a new game mechanic, kind of related to villagers, but with piglins. They introduced piglin bartering, which is fantastic. A really big update content-wise, and that's not all of it. I haven't covered everything that came out in this update, but these are kind of like the main things I thought of when talking about the 1.16 Nether update, but really good update, and I think because of that deserves a number 2 spot on my list. Now, number 1. This can be very controversial, but number 1 on my list is actually, surprisingly, the 1.17 Caves and Cliffs Part 1 update. This deserves a number 1 spot, mainly because of the building blocks that they added. Now, I know 1.16 added a lot of building blocks, but 1.17, what they added, I think changed the way we build and the style we can build. It added more styles. And let me just start with the blocks. So they added Amethyst, which I think is really cool. Calcite, Smooth Basalt, Tough, which is very useful when you're building with stones. Tinted Glass, which is a very useful block when you're trying to make mob farms. Copper, which is a very unique block. Moss, which changes the way we landscape our builds. The Lightning Rod, another cool mechanic. Candles, which have finally in the game. I thought candles should have been added earlier. Candles are finally in the game. Powder Snow, which is a very unique block. Dripstone, Azalea, a new tree, which I think is really cool. Rooted Dirt, another dirt that cannot be overgrown by grass. Deep Slate, which is another one of my favorite blocks. Spore Blossom, and kind of a new way they did the ores. You know, we can actually fortune iron and gold now, where for the longest time, ever since Minecraft has been created, we could never fortune gold or iron. Well, now we can, which is the main reason why this update is number 1 on my list. But not only new mobs, I think I mentioned the goat, but also the glow squid and axolotl, which I have yet to, play around with, but really cool. And also the new biomes, the Dripstone Caves and Lush Caves. The caves in Minecraft before this update have been so bland, they were due for an update, which is kind of why this is number 1 on my list. One of my favorite updates. If I had to choose between the Caves and Cliffs Part 1 update, the Nether update, or the Wild update, though, I think, in my opinion, like I said earlier, the Wild update is one of my favorite updates that Minecraft has came out with so far to date. But there you have it. There is my top 10, my list of favorite Minecraft updates that came out over the years of Minecraft's history. Let me know your feedback in the comment section below, what you guys have to say. I would love to see your lists. If you have any thoughts or any opinions on any of these updates, please feel free to share them in the comment section below. If you have any ideas that you would think Minecraft should add, or any things that you would like to see added into the game, please feel free to share them in the comment section below. But anyways, guys, this will be it